This is Jed Disler, and welcome to The Piano Maven, your friendly podcast guide to piano recordings. I want to thank all of you for your patience these past weeks while we've been airing rebroadcasts of past episodes devoted to Chopin's music. And I did this partly because we had been focusing on this composer in October as a parallel to the Warsaw Chopin competition, where, as some of you may know, I was Gramophone magazine's official blogger, as well as a co-host for some of the intermission features, and also for creating daily video reports at the request of the Chopin Institute. Whether or not I continue with these video Chopin reports depends on a number of factors. I've also been encouraged to transform the Piano Maven into a video podcast from an audio podcast, and that's very much a possibility. Anyway, I was on tour for nearly 2.5 months. I was in London for a month playing concerts. I was teaching and both performing in Helsinki and Espoo in Finland. And then I had 3.5 weeks in Warsaw with the Chopin competition, and I barely saw the city. I was basically just going from my hotel room to the concert hall. And finally, I was in Italy, where I taught in Modena, and then I played a concert at the Teatro Niccolini in Florence. Anyway, I am back in the U.S. in my New York studio, and of course, I've been procrastinating because I've had a lot of work coming back home. And the way I procrastinate is usually I tool around the Internet Archive website looking for free goodies that might be of interest for the Piano Maven. And I happened to see a recording of all 4 Chopin Scherzos, and it was a recording I never knew about before, and it featured a pianist whom I had never heard of before. This pianist's name is Stanislav Knor. That's Knor. And this was a release on the Superfund label that came out around 1961, and someone uploaded a not quite pristine vinyl transfer of this LP with the 4 scherzos. And I've also found it on YouTube in a much better sounding transfer, so you can decide which one you want. If you can download from YouTube, that's fine, or you can check out the Internet Archive link, whatever you prefer. Anyway, I've listened to it, and I've provided links to both the YouTube and to the Internet Archive download in my episode description. Stanislav Knor was born in Prague on February 14th, 1929, according to Wikipedia, which is always right. Isn't that correct? And he died in Sweden on December 4th, 1984. And this pianist studied with František Maxian in his native Czechoslovakia at the Prague Academy. And he also studied with Marcel Ciampi in Paris. Yeah, Marcel Ciampi, yeah. His performance on this disc of the first scherzo is not one of those fast and fire-eating interpretations, but I like the interpretation because there's a very strong left-hand presence with lots of attention to syncopated accents, and there are some very broad rhetorical touches. And he plays the central trio section based on that song, Sleep My Jesus, in a very direct manner without milking the music in anguish like so many of these young competition hotshots, and you know who you are. The second scherzo is also very meticulous in detail, with rhythmic values very clearly spelled out. But the tempo kind of bogs down in the second subject, the D-flat major. I can't remember what it is now. It's too early in the morning. But basically the music just kind of drags. And then the energy picks up toward the end of the trio section at the climax. But that's good, but it's, too little too late. Generally, I think in this performance you hear more of a teacher than a pianist at the piano bench. Stanislav Knor, however, does pretty well in the third scherzo. It's by no means a demonic whirlwind of a performance a la Martha Argerich, but this pianist particularly comes to life in the trio and how he balances that chorale-like theme, da-dee-dee-dee, and the decorative responses, bum-bum, bum-ba-dum-dum, you know what I'm talking about. I find the performance very interesting, and there's a lot of careful scaling of dynamics. And also, this pianist takes care again to bring out left-hand accents that one usually doesn't hear. But the fourth scherzo, as is often the case in this piece, proves to be the weak link, and that's because of Stanislav Knor's rather enervated tempo and rambling phrasing in the trio section, which just seems to go on forever in this performance. But he plays the outer sections of the scherzo well, but without any real scintillation or bite. I mean, don't expect Vladimir Ashkenazy or Yevgeny Kissin or the classic Vladimir Horowitz recording, or that performance that I heard during the Chopin competition by William Yang. Now, that was quite an amazing fourth scherzo, and you should look that performance up. I do hope in the future, however, to have a podcast episode about Stanislav Knor and his 1962 recording of the Gershwin Concerto with Václav Neumann conducting the Prague Symphony Orchestra. This recording's actually been relatively available on CD, and you can find it on various digital platforms. And I was thinking it might be interesting to do an episode about the Gershwin Concerto and Rhapsody in Blue in recordings made behind the Iron Curtain. So I think I'll save the Stanislav Knor, Václav Neumann Gershwin Concerto for another time. But I would check out Stanislav Knor's Chopin scherzos mainly for Scherzo number 1 and Scherzo number 3. The other two, you don't really need to hear them. This is Jed Disler, and you've been listening to The Piano Maven, your friendly podcast guide to piano recordings, and I look forward to being with you for our next episode. Take good care and be well.